And then he's going to amaze you with a 6.5 minute presentation on DDN and Tintri, which the first time I saw it, my socks blew off. Quite an amazing one. So let's jump over and then see Dan Maxwell from Tintri. So Dan, give us a bit of an idea about yourself. A bit of background into you and how you got into the business.
Good afternoon, Lee, and thanks for having me on today. I guess my sort of journey into IT wasn't one I had by design when I was a youngster in school. So actually, I had a lifelong ambition of becoming a commercial airline pilot. So that's what I majored on in university. I left university with a commercial pilot's license, and that's what I had my heart set on. But when that sort of graduation and period of training concluded, that was around 2008, 2009. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize what happened with the economy at that point in time, when a lot of airlines went under and young sort of recruits, pilots like me with 200 or so hours of flying experience, didn't have the ability to kind of walk into a job as we thought and hoped so during the beginning of our degree course. So I gravitated back to my previous role of part-time in retail. So I used to work for Dixon's Travel in Gatwick Airport, and did that for the sum total of 10.5 years, which was a hard slog, waking up at 3 a.m. for early shifts and finishing at 9 o'clock in the evenings. But then all of a sudden, I thought to myself, let's do something else whilst keeping the sort of the flight career in the sort of back burner, if you will.
So we've got a few bits in common then, because I was in the Royal Air Force and all around aircraft, and both moving into technology and things. Quite an interesting how you drift into different things, isn't it?
Quite a few parallels there, of course. And I'm not sure what happened with you, Lee, in terms of, finding your feet in IT. But for me, it was a kind of chance occurrence in the sense that I put my CV out to a couple of sort of CV sites and I had a few people contact me, one of which was a graduate recruitment company. And then 2 sort of on-site trial days, if you will, and a few interviews later, I got put forward for a couple of IT-related jobs. So my first job in IT was with a Flash-based storage startup called Fusion.io, which I had a great time at, and that was in late 2013. And the rest, they say, Lee, is very much history.
Yeah, because I remember Fusion.io, and then some of the storage technology that came out after they span off some parts of the business and met up with a few of them. So why Tintri then now? Why did you choose to go along with Tintri? What made you think, this is the right job for me?
That's a good question. So I guess the more operative question would be, how did I come about to Tintri? So in the space of 6 or so years in IT, I started out as an internal sales development representative, if you will. I then pivoted into end user sales, focused by channel sales, working with resellers such as yourself extensively for the past 2.5 3 years. And the last 7 or so months pivoted back into end user sales, i.e. talking and touching directly end user contacts and prospects, as it were. Prior to Tintri, I was with a company called Western Digital. I'm sure you've heard about WD, Lee.
Definitely know them.
And, yeah, of course you do. And they acquired a business unit called Tedjar or IntelliFlash back in 2017, effectively representing Western Digital's systems units within WD. Now, Western Digital made a conscious pivot away from systems to focus back on its core business, which was devices, so manufacturing and selling hard drives and SSDs at scales to their biggest customers globally. And at that point in time, DD and Tintri saw a great opportunity to acquire IntelliFlash, which I was a part of, and that was a sealed deal, as it were, in November 2019. Now, I think from my perspective, Lee, and forgive me if I'm rambling too much, there's a couple of observations here. Number one, I'm very proud to be part of a company that prioritizes profitability over and above any other metric, and the reason why is because I think it puts us in an extremely good position of financial fortitude, particularly with respect to the current climate and the economic background we operate in now under COVID-19, whereas a lot of our storage competitors make huge strides in the sort of overall market, but at expense of profitability. So at some point, those losses are going to be accretive, and at some point, something needs to happen. The second piece is, compared to when storage was when I started IT 6 years ago, there is a glut of choice, an abundance of choice in terms of whether it's this brand, another brand, or another brand. And to some degree, the commoditization narrative that exists is very much commoditized. It's a case of everything is fast enough given the advent of all flash arrays, and then the only metric that a customer has to decide between array A and array B is price. Yeah. And that isn't necessarily the best indicator of value, is it, of course? No, so I'm very proud to represent a portfolio which is all about intelligent infrastructure. and how it's pioneering a game changer in terms of how organizations architect, manage, and approach IT. And given that it's a unique one, and given that every customer I've ever spoken to is not sitting around doing nothing, lying back, they're firefighting. So by giving time back to these organizations, it's everyone's been very receptive to messaging, and I'm very proud to represent that as Tintri.
Yeah, I'm going to say we've worked with Tintri a long time, and the technology was second to none always. But one of the challenges you get is people, trying to differentiate between different technologies, and sometimes, like you say, that differentiator sometimes just the cost, and at that point, it's where you see the value in it anymore, and it's difficult, isn't it? Just a comparison on price. Yeah, not a good position to be in technology, I don't. So
Absolutely.
one of the things that I briefly talked about earlier is you've got this wonderful 6.5 minute presentation that overviews both DDN and Tintri, and it flies by really quickly. And the first time I saw it, it was quite amazed. I've not seen anything quite like it before. I think it'd be really good if we could put that together and give that to our viewers. So you want to get ready to get that, and we'll kick off. So if you want to share your screen, and what we'll do is we'll kick off when you're ready.
Great stuff. Can you see that? Great stuff. So, been introduced you by yourself already, so thank you, Lee. I'm Daniel Maxwell, Account Executive at Tintri. Please forgive the slightly cheesy, corny picture. It was taken in sort of late 2019 as part of a Movember initiative when I was part of Western Digital. As much as I look a bit like a mug there, we raised a good amount of cash for a very reasonable, very sort of prominent cause. So I'm very proud to be part of that. But that's me. I wanted to introduce you to Tintri in about 167 slides in about 6.5-7 minutes, Lee. So I guess I better start. So 1998, Nokia releases the 5110, Jerry Halliwell leaves the Spice Girls, and in Chatsworth, California, these two guys came together to form a technology company to solve the issue of the storage bottleneck in HPC environments, and decided to call it Data Direct Networks, abbreviated to DDN, and focus its engineering efforts exclusively on fast access and high capacity storage, particularly for unstructured data. Now, 22 years later, DDN represents $400 million of run rate revenue as of 2019, 10,000 customers globally, 1,000 employees, and has been profitable now for over 15 years. And I'm willing to bet, Lee, you probably didn't know, DDN is the world's largest privately owned storage company and is synonymous with HPC, big data, and for supporting giant companies and research arms across many verticals running data-intensive environments. And very recently, supported these guys with the deployments of not 1 petabyte, but 15 petabytes of all-flash DDN storage for their own internal HPC cluster. That's 15 petabytes, which is more flash than most people know what to do with. Now, DDN today is comprised of 2 discrete divisions: DDN at scale, serving its traditional big data and high-performance computing roots, and DDN Enterprise, DDN's range of intelligent infrastructure for enterprise organizations. And as DDN Enterprise, we operate under the Tintri banner, encompassing the VMstore, IntelliFlash, and ExtensiStore product lines. Now, Tintri's mission is to bridge the gap created between the need for customers to deploy and manage more infrastructure and a flatlining resource pool of people and budget tasked to manage, support, and administer that infrastructure. And while scripting and rule-based automation certainly helps, it's just not enough to keep up. However, with Tintri in our portfolio of solutions representing intelligent infrastructure, we're able to help organizations bridge this gap with industry-leading intelligence, automation, and analytics, giving you back time in your day to focus on more meaningful business objectives and also enabling storage administrators to become application managers. Now, furthermore, intelligent infrastructure can also be viewed as a foundational component for organizations looking to realize the power and benefits of AI Ops, short for artificial intelligence for IT operations, defined by Gartner in 2017 as technologies that help organizations leverage AI to automate infrastructure operations. And if we look closely at the definition of AI Ops as defined by Gartner, we can say that Tintri executes against each of the defining characteristics of AI Ops and has been doing so now for over a decade. So how does Tintri represent intelligent infrastructure? Well, here's how we don't, like some of our competitors who will arrive and tell you that their products are fast, faster, cheap, reliable, smart, tiered, converged, hyper-converged, scalable, and software-defined. But it's all noise. And then the storage vendor will probably make a song and a dance about their speed and their power, or that they have more IOPS, throughput, capacity, density, bandwidth, scalability, or maybe they have less latency. But these are all legacy metrics that are largely irrelevant in today's world. And given the mainstream adoption of SSD-based media and storage systems, most arrays are good enough and fast enough for most applications. The net result is you're left bored, confused, and unable to choose from one or the other. Deep breath. Now, instead, Tintri takes a different approach with intelligent infrastructure, where we're able to increase application performance and, without time travel, give time back to the people that manage those applications. And here's a few examples of how we do this. Firstly, with workload isolation. Now, as a VM native file system built from scratch with virtualized infrastructures, we can deliver a level of hypervisor integration that is unique in the industry, allowing us to analyze an estate of virtual machines, isolate individual VMs, and provide each VM with its own dedicated resource lane. And with zero input or hands-on intervention, and in real time, a Tintri VMstore array self-tunes based on information taken in from its specific environments, ensuring each virtual machine is fed with the exact amount of infrastructure resource required to ensure sub-millisecond latency. And as the workload changes, the calculus that feeds that resource allocation also changes, ensuring each VM always maintains its high performance and low latency profile, which in turn makes resource contention, aka the IO blender, and noisy neighbors both a thing of the past. Now, secondly, by using real-time and predictive analytics. Now, storage vendors are very quick to jump on board the bandwagon when it comes to artificial intelligence, but not all AI is equal. And if we use the analogy of navigating in a car, our competitors merely use algorithms to provide directions and navigation guidance, which still requires a level of human attention and intervention to execute the suggested action. Now, in contrast, a Tintri VMstore will use AI to both highlight and execute the action, which is a bit like using autopilot in a Tesla. In addition, we're able to model compute and storage needs 18 months into the future, and even model the effect of launching new applications in your specific environment, which helps you to plan and be proactive, as opposed to reactively putting out fires and asking for last-minute budget for some more storage, please, sir. Lastly, we don't just deliver intelligent infrastructure with VMstore, we also achieve it through IntelliFlash and ExtenStore. Now, IntelliFlash is a modern VM-aware array for your performance-hungry and latency-bound applications, and is available in NVMe Flash, SASL Flash, and Hybrid Flash flavors, with your choice of file and block protocols, a zero software licensing model for all software and features, and IntelliCare software as standard, a secure by design single pane of glass, capable of managing an entire estate of IntelliFlash systems with proactive 24/7 vendor-led monitoring, which is exactly what our biggest IntelliFlash customer does, managing a global estate of IntelliFlash representing 5 petabytes stored across 80 arrays over 4 continents, managed by one person in minutes a day from a single pane of glass. And finally, in ExtenStore, our software-defined storage solution with intelligent file-saving capabilities that can be built on your choice of hardware or deployed as a virtual storage appliance, ideal and proven with organizations in the 5G, telco, and IoT space. So now you know, Lee, who Tintri is, what Tintri represents, and the importance of intelligent infrastructure, and why we love Tintri. So that's me, again, and where you can find me, and that's them again, and where you can find them. And of course, thank you. I hope I got that in about 6.5 minutes, Lee.
Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm impressed. Yeah, that was an amazing 6.5 minutes of presentation with, what was it, 167 slides? Yeah.
Thereabouts, yeah.
I'm going to say, not many people start their presentation with, I've got 167 slides to show you. Yeah, so well impressed with that. So thank you very much for your time today. Hopefully now our viewers have got a picture of you and how you've ended up being part of the Tintri family, and also a little bit more about DDN and Tintri from that amazing presentation. Thank you very much, and hopefully have you on again to talk a bit more in depth of some of those areas you've covered on your presentation.
Thanks for having me, Lee. Really appreciate it. Look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you.